just muted, so.
Your speaker's down.
I know, I hit mute. The problem is it's using the wrong device. Mute that. All right, everything should be fine now. Hello, everyone. Just getting started here. Usually like to wait just a few minutes for folks to show up. I would appreciate anybody just keeping an eye on the Q&A.
Yeah, I'll watch that.
I actually think you're the only one that can probably make anyone else a producer. But yeah, we'll wait just a couple minutes. Good old Microsoft time.
Don't get the room camera anymore.
No, we do not. You do not get the room, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
And I know we've had a lot of bummer stuff.
I wish we had a cam.
We just talked about that.
Walked in here and said it.
The Teams thing, I don't know.
Well, we're live.
Still, I'm fine with saying that.
Yeah, no, I mean.
It leaves more to be desired. In my opinion.
I don't think it's in your opinion. I just don't know that anybody's given
Oh,
me
hey.
a perfectly
Look at
good
that.
alternative
And
yet.
you can see, I fixed it.
Genius.
With
Turned it on, did
You
you?
deserve a Coke. Help
Problem
yourself.
is,
We can't share it.
No, but,
It's
don't
you
people
guys
see?
No.
Oh, only we see?
Yes, I have. This is the red
You mean
window.
other people, no.
They can see on my screen in that little box.
No, but I thought people usually see the other attendees, no? Not in this
It's
live
a
event
live
thing?
broadcast. I own the red square,
Hey, at least I get to see the camera.
and I don't. And there's this thing that you can do
yeah.
where you go like this,
Yeah.
and it's horrible because you have
Yeah.
giant black bars. But
I know,
you can
right?
give it a shot.
It's like I don't know, 80% of the way there.
I can tell you, Ian, it is 30 people.
Remember, don't reply
Until
before
you've
publishing,
published.
because otherwise it's a
You're
private.
the only one that could do it.
Okay, fine. I'm trying to publish it as they come in.
But generally speaking, if it's a totally useless thing, dismiss it instead.
No, that's what I've been
It's,
doing. There's already one dismissed. Because it was a dupe.
Oops. Okay, everybody, we're going to get started here. Thank you all for joining. We've got 33 people on the call here, it looks like. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. Just want to, if I could get a positive act that everybody can see this okay. We're trying something new with the little webcam on the side. See anything? Anybody saying yes? I can
Nobody's
see the
saying
text
anything?
just fine. No worries. All right, we'll start off talking about the RFCs. So hopefully everyone has seen, and I know we've brought this up on the last few community calls, there have been a lot of furor around our RFCs. We've been making lots of progress, not as much as we'd like to be, but I believe it's been more than we've been making over the last few months. You know, we've drilled a few of these down. We're keeping this number below 40 for the time being, but there are a lot of these here. You know, we're really looking to revise our process a little bit in order to not have the committee be the bottleneck on these getting through. So one of the things that I've done that I had hoped to get out before this call, but it's still churning on a blog that really hopes to explain some of the more informal aspects of how we pick up, you know, certain RFCs and when we review them and what makes reviewing them easier. I think that there are also some formal changes that we'd like to make that are still being discussed within the committee, and some aspects of the formal process that we think can be revised to really prevent, not prevent, but really just sort of preempt some of the RFC discussion that's taking place a little further down the pipeline than we'd like. So, for instance, having discussions, more in issues before publishing an RFC, whether that's from our side or from the community side, we think that could go a long way to preventing some of these more verbose discussions happening in RFCs. But in the meantime, we've got a few of these out that we've been responding to from the community. I know some people are frustrated that we place a bit of a priority on some of these that are coming from within the team, and I understand the consternation there. We've marked a lot of these as 7.0 consider. These are the ones that we believe, if they're approved, will end up shipping in PowerShell 7. And the vast majority of them, if not all of them, have had some amount of code written in order to sort of prototype and feel out the design of this. A couple of these have actually been checked in experimentally already for Preview 3, and so we're still committed to pulling those out if these RFCs turn out to be the wrong thing, or if the experimental nature of the feature is blocking in some way. So, this isn't to say that all of these are guaranteed to make it through, but one thing to note is that, it's a lot of these features are things that we've discussed internally for a much longer time than have really, been put out as RFCs. And so, the issue is that there's essentially a large amount of consensus within the team on some of these features already. They've gone through large design discussions, even if very informally, kind of hallway conversations before these RFCs have been published. And that's the kind of conversation that we'd like to push to issues for community RFCs, and really have a longer sort of runway going into the RFC getting published. But I encourage everybody to check out this milestone worth. I think, again, this is not to say this is the only list going in. These are just the ones that, we've got engineers writing code already to support, and that we all feel pretty strong in one form or another we'd like to get in. But again, we're committed to going through the regular process. Any questions on that, Steve? They're getting published there?
Nope.
Not yet. So yeah, some of the big ones. Jason's driving the updated error view. We're doing invoke DSC resource for PowerShell 7 without the LCM. We've got this big secrets management project that we'd like to do, sort of an extensible model for handling secrets and credentials cross-platform. For each object parallel, I believe, is going into Preview 3.
Yeah, it's already checked in. Yep.
Pipeline chain operators and the, what I'm missing, ternary here.
Yes, because there wasn't an RFC for this.
Login shell.
Yeah, there was.
Was there for ternary? I don't think there was. There was an issue.
Login shells.
Login shell there was, but we closed on that one, I think, already.
Yep, need a ternary one. Login shell has already made it in, and then this little red recording right over my phone, but and then PowerShell get 3.0. This one is not started writing code yet because
code has started, but it's in a different repo.
Got it.
And prototyping has started, I'll just say.
Prototyping stuff.
And then this notification, this one's kind of non-controversial. So definitely check all these out. I won't deep dive too hard on any of them unless someone has a question on one. But in addition to that, there are a number of community RFCs that we are beginning to respond to a little more and be a little more vigilant about dealing with. Keep your eyes peeled on that blog. I will definitely allude to some of the changes we want to make in the formal process as I go towards that blog. I think, Jason, you wanted to share something as well on the RFC side.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that next week I'm going to have a YouTube video out that both explains how best to review an RFC with some of Joey's best tips. And also, I'm going to specifically talk about error view and demonstrate what that's going to look like. Guys, we're going to change and clean up how the errors are displayed on the screen to kind of make things easier for people to read. So I really want feedback from everybody on this. So if you work with a lot of ops guys, this is a great opportunity for them to get involved. And so there'll be a video next week to help that process. and specifically focusing on improving the view of the errors. Back to you, Joey.
We all need like a radio voice.
For 7.0.
I want to the weather.
Community RFCs, JSON 2, video on RFCs, process and error view. Awesome. Cool.
Can we talk about the release?
Yeah, go for it.
So we expect PowerShell 7 Preview 3 to come out next week. We're kind of close on a few pull requests to see if they get in, but if anything that you care about doesn't make it in, don't worry, there will be a Preview 4. There's a quick question from Joel Stella. Do we have any available? Okay, so let's end that for a second.
Defer that.
Yeah. So there's also been some other questions. So I did post or open an issue on the RC repo to solicit some questions. And there were some questions about the overall roadmap timeline. So I want to make clear, like, we're not date driven, but we do want to target a specific date. And that date that we're targeting is by end of this calendar year, which aligns with the .NET Core 3.1 LTS release expected in November. We would GA PowerShell 7 in December, barring any critical issues that would prevent us from releasing that. If there's any critical issues, we'll hold the release and we'll shoot for January, February, whatever is needed. So the current thinking is that we'll have previews all the way up to November. So November, we should, if everything goes right, have a release candidate. So the release candidate will be a strong representative of what the final release will look like. So the only thing going in between the release candidate and GA will be any critical bug fixes. There'll be no more feature work. Anything that we deem as meeting non-experimental will be taken out of experimental by RC. Otherwise, if it's still experimental in RC, it'll still be experimental in GA. And then the next opportunity will be in 7.1 or 8 or whatever the next one is after that. We've closed on that yet.
Yeah, we haven't closed on post 7. The important thing to note here is that we are skipping .NET Core 3.0, and there was some good conversation in the issue.
Just to be clear, we're shipping with 3.0, but we're not going to have a GA with 3.0. So when we say skipping, I think it causes
for supported releases.
Yes.
We are skipping .NET Core 3.0.
Okay, that's the first.
And the obviously, like 7.0 has already been based on .NET Core 3.0 for a few weeks, and we're tracking with the progress of that development. But there was some consternation, I think, in the issue here about hey, like, why not have a 7.0 that's built on top of 3.0? Should we wait for quality versus try and rush out a 7.0 build that sort of might be more of like a preview in production, which I think is what .NET's calling their latest 3.0 preview. And the reality is that we're trying to get a lot of features out the door, trying to make sure that we validate those features and have high quality. And having another supported branch introduces a significant amount of overhead to our team's development cycles. So it might feel like, hey, why not just like pin this preview to be a supported release? It generates a lot of work for us further down the road when we have to do security servicing updates and we're maintaining additional branches. And those sorts of things can be the difference between multiple features going in that you guys are requesting. So it's just something that we don't feel is really worth the benefit of putting out there. But I think 7.1. There's no reason we can't do a 7.2 at some point based on whatever .NET's pushing out after that, or we may talk about an 8. We don't know at this point, and some of it's going to depend on whether .NET their current plans stay the same or change. So this is something we've always been pretty dynamic on, I think, and we're just we'll do the right thing as it happens. So
let me just add one thing. Like, I want to make sure everyone's clear. Like, .NET Core's published plan right now is to have 3.0 GA in October and 3.1 GA in November as a equivalent of a Service Pack 1, and the 3.1 is the LTS release. So I think for us, it made a lot of sense to align with the 3.1 LTS because we'll get 3 years of support, and then PowerShell 7 will be our first LTS release, meaning long-term servicing.
It's actually November.
Was it November?
Release, yeah.
Yeah. So the LTS, their GA 3.1 which is an LTS, is in November. So we pick that up and then we release in December, right? So that means that since from there, we would get approximately 3 years of support for PowerShell 7.
Right, versus maintaining a branch that's going to be very, very similar to NetCore 3.1 for, a whole, I think, year is their active branch.
Something like that.
Basically until the next one ships that's a non-active branch. So, it just doesn't feel like that 3 months is really worth having a 7.0 get rushed out. But, But again, these things they do tend to change. It's not, absolutely no knock on the .NET team at all. But these things are never totally set in stone, and we we'd rather not make plans out to 2023, given that we are still feeling our way through the right thing to do here. So, yeah, cool. Okay.
I want to go back to some of the questions. There were a couple of questions on error view, actually. So Joel says, do we have any available examples of what we're looking at changing error views at the moment? So that's all in the RFC that's already been published. I think there were screenshots, right, including the RFC. So it shows the coloring and the proposal, what that will look like. So definitely take a look at that and add your feedback. And there's just another comment about thanks for tackling error view.
Yeah, I think just philosophically, this is about significantly simplifying the error view.
Yeah, philosophically, this has been an issue. I mean, everybody that works with PowerShell knows that this has been kind of a challenge for a long time, getting a giant message where a lot of the important parts have a tendency to get obscured for a lot of people. So this was a push to clarify that, to make it easier, to make sure that inner exception pops onto your eyes and isn't clouded by other things. We see this as being very, very helpful, and it's been requested for a long time. So we're taking it very seriously as a great opportunity to clarify.
Now, obviously, that doesn't change any aspect of the error object. And so, digging into the error itself is going to be the same as it was before off of the error stack, but really we just want to have that actionable string be right up front and center for people to see. Awesome. Any more new? Nope. Okay, great. I think if he's ready, I'm going to throw it over to Jack.
Yeah, let me I have a cast screen on Mac.
No worries. So Jack has been our intern for the last couple months, and he's been working on a very requested feature that people have been wanting in PowerShell Core for a long time, which is out grid view. So he's got a working demo here of out grid view running on his MacBook, and it does work fully cross-platform, and he'll go into the details on that as soon as he's joined up. Yeah, the one with the little radio.
Yeah, we're taking over.
So if you share, then I can.
There we go.
Oop, and then oop. Nice. Yep. Good to go.
All right, we've taken over. Sweet. So now for very much less controversial things, we have optional features in an optional package. Super easy down the books. But so we have the return of outgrid view. If you check out the blog post, it's been about 3 years that we've had outgrid view in PowerShell Core. Well, it's never been in PowerShell Core, but it's in Windows PowerShell. And so now it runs everywhere. So just to kind of hit off a quick demo, if you go classic, if you get process, you pipe it in outgrid view, then you use pass-through, which is everyone's favorite thing. It will return the objects back to the terminal, and then you can pipe it to something fun, like kill. So basically what we're going to have here is it's going to take all the objects, and it's going to be slow because screen recording uses all my CPU. Come on, CPU, we believe in you here.
I'll just say that if you do use this locally, it's not this slow.
Yeah.
No, this is,
Important to clarify.
this is absolutely your video card just crunching.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that, the goo. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, MacBook Airs really need to be better. If anyone knows Tim Cook, hit him up.
You mean Tim Apple?
Tim Apple. Tim Apple.
Yes.
All right, but so basically we have all the support. The old algorithm, you can do quick search. For example, if I want to find my VS Code instances, you type in code. You'll see code insiders here, right? And because my MacBook's struggling right now, we really want to kill all of these. So we can go through and select them, and you can go and export it, and it will pipe it to kill. And then you'll see VS Code got really mad there because we tried to kill it. And it's crashed because that's how Apple reports it when you kill it through bash. But you can do things like that, which is always classical features. We also have some new features. One of my favorite is, if we go back to it. Oh man.
Eventually get back to it.
Eventually get back to it. Really should not close it. Is we have this new feature called show code. But so basically the concept is you go through and you can add all these filters throughout Grid View to kind of repeat your tasks and narrow things down. But sometimes you want to not have a GUI because say you're in a scenario like this where your video card is struggling and you'd like to only be using code. What you can do is you can go through and you can add a filter like process name, be the same thing, and we'll find VS Code. And then let's add another filter on, let's say, CPU usage. You want it to contain 38, an oddly specific thing. But you go through and you click show code. It'll give you this where object, which you can copy to your clipboard. And then if you go here, and let's see if I can open another terminal. Okay, PowerShell. And you do get process and then paste that in right there. It will fail.
No, it's not using 38% of your.
Oh, it's changed, it's reduced.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
but you get the idea.
if you want to use 38, find VS Code instance that use 38% of your CPU frequently, this is really a struggle for you. This would make it easy to automate. On top of this, so this is our grid view. What was really the game-breaking thing here is we now have a working integration of Avalonia into PowerShell, which turns out to be a bit of a trick. But so if you're interested in adding other graphical commands, we are looking for someone to add show command and show object into PowerShell core. If you go to the graphical tools module in PowerShell, you can find it. But also we're kind of open to open proposals for other graphical commands. We think it's one of the unique things that PowerShell can do that other terminals cannot. So.
Do you want to briefly talk about the size thing that was?
Oh.
And what we potential what we let us?
Potential, yeah. So there's a fun issue with GUIs, which is they tend to weigh a lot. This package is a module ships at 280 megabytes, which is roughly the size of the rest of PowerShell. So one of the significant issues is that PowerShell Git doesn't support like dynamic by platform. So we ship all of the bindings for Linux, Windows, and Mac to everyone. So we're looking for a quick fix to that. We're thinking just to have it delete the files on install. Use post install script, but also open to other magical proposals if anyone's good with Avalonia.
Yeah, one thing that we, oh no, go ahead.
There's an issue on the graphical tools repo. It's PowerShell/graphical tools, and just find the issue that says like package size is too large. And floating around some ideas. Managed to bring it down by about 50 megabytes already with some fun stuff that I've done, but I think there's still a bunch of improvement that can be done for that. So it might be a mix of the work that I've done to bring the size down and also just like do one install, at least as a stopgap for now until PowerShell gets and PowerShell support better like cross-platform package scenario.
And what's our repo is just, is it graphical tools?
Yeah.
Okay.
Graphical tools.
Yeah. It's not the ms.ps.
But yeah, so the only thing that Jack is going to try to work on by the end of the week, and by the end of the week, as in tomorrow,
Yeah, I know.
is I think, are you going to try to shoot for numerical filters?
Yeah.
Okay, is the ability to filter numerical values by like the CPU example, you could do like where CPU is greater than 80% or something like that. Gonna shoot for that, we'll see.
There's also feedback from Aaron Nelson that, again, we'll see how much Jack can do because his internship ends at the end of this week. is rather than having multiple pipe weir object, we really should combine it with a dash
Yeah.
band. That
There's
seems like it should be a
some
very small change to me.
There's some improvement that can be made to show code for sure.
Yeah.
And also like in this example, it uses the, there's a bunch of improvement that we can have. We should get an issue going on ways we can make it better.
Yeah.
But I think, like any great intern project, he has accomplished the very difficult part of cross-platform pass-through.
Yes.
Yeah.
With a single module,
Absolutely.
which we're really, really excited about.
Big round of
And,
applause
Even
for
with
that.
the huge wrench that was thrown in our plans about like,
process model.
with running GUIs on Mac, that made this change quite significantly in the design, but Jack was able to deal with that in a, I think, elegant way.
Yeah, and from here, we think that, and especially given that this is sitting outside the PowerShell repo, it
Yep.
means that we can iterate on it
Great.
more quickly than we do
Yeah.
with the RRC process. And we know a lot of people are excited about this. So there are definitely some rough edges, rough corners, but, with your help and some progress we'll make over a period of time, we think we can smooth a lot of those out. So did want to make one other case here, especially if we happen to have Joel Bennett on the call, because I know he's been telling me about this since the day we launched Alpha, for PowerShell 6.0. Long term, we do have this desire to support runtime IDs on the gallery. We have no kind of ETA there. It's not going to happen in PowerShell Get 3.0, but something like basically they're saying, hey, we could download the thing and then afterwards we'll delete the native dependencies out of that module. The idea would be, hey, at install module time, PowerShell Get and the gallery are aware enough to know not to download the native dependencies that are irrelevant for the operating system that it's running on. So, actually save the network time and don't put anything down on the disk there. But it is something that is not a small work item and that probably won't be happening for the short term.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I opened that issue last May, meaning more than a year ago. But now that I own PowerShell Get, it will eventually get done. All right.
And the gallery, you won't.
Yeah, I own both Get and Gallery.
So I'm taking over.
A bunch of little small comments. We can probably do those offline.
We can go do these real quick because a couple of these are
They're related to what we just talked about. The Get Help Show window.
well, the problem with the Get Help Show window is that ships in PowerShell, and we're not ready to say that PowerShell includes graphical tools or that it takes a dependency there. We could theoretically have some kind of error that gets thrown saying you need the graphical tools module to run.
I'd rather have a show help if there's a desire for that. I'm not a big fan of it myself because I like the console, but someone could submit that as a pull request into graphical tools.
Someone asked, is there a way to call like the previous Skype for Business meetings? I think unfortunately not at the moment, and the reason there's being that Teams still doesn't see you guys in this live broadcast as peers, and we don't want to bring everyone into the Office 365 organization. Tyler was talking a little bit about the frustration that we've had on these Teams broadcasts since we've switched. I don't know that we have a great alternative lined up. There's also a large switching cost involved with moving to any kind of new platform, given that these links are all out there and everybody knows how they're joining and that sort of thing. But I still do want to look at it and see what we can do, and maybe let's bug the Teams folks again to see if they can lower any of these barriers for us so that people can be a little bit more bi-directional with the communications on these live broadcasts. Better if the shown code used named parameters, missing filter script here.
I say please open an issue on the graphical tools repo.
Are there parameters to control what text that button shows?
I think Kirk is asking more of a general question, like can this be used as a way to generate basically more like a custom outgrid view GUI? This is probably going to be popular with like IT pros and stuff, building hand-me-down scripts to other folks to run. So that wasn't in scope for this. Again, I would suggest open an issue, and if we need an ability to have like a style sheet kind of thing, I think that's an interesting idea. Maybe someone else can do that work.
Not planned.
No, it's definitely not planned. The concept is interesting, I think.
And then Kirk noted that notes and transcript are still missing for the last call, and that's just my screw up. I've been very busy. I apologize, but I will get this one and the July one posted. We did not skip that call.
hold on, there's a couple more things that just came in. Just published them, so I'll just flip back to the other view.
Is there any plans with working with .NET Core team to move WPF over to other platforms? I don't believe that they've published any plans to do that. I think that's a pretty significant work item that I think that they've actually explicitly stated that that's not something they're looking into.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
And, I think when they, especially WinForms, I'm not sure about WPF, but this is something that, WPF is architected around Windows, and it would be a significant undertaking to move that over. I don't think there are any plans to do that right now. Something like PS Avalonia is really or Avalonia in general is really what we see as the future for that aspect, and we think there are some issues with it still. It's a
0.1, yeah.
0.1 phase, but it works, and they're making a lot of progress, and I think the potential is very high there. So, if that changes, we'll pick up whatever the new thing is. But right now, I think that's the current plan of record.
There's a question about is there an update to put in a SQL module on GitHub? Aaron Nelson, is he on the call?
Yep.
Yeah, he actually might have more info about that.
I don't know if he can respond.
Yeah, I don't know, but he may know, but I don't know if he can respond. But I'm not aware of any plans from the SQL team to do any of that.
Yeah,
you can also ping Matteo on Twitter and see how much he is willing to share.
Is he on Twitter?
Matteo is.
Is it like that? TAVIGGI?
I don't know what his handle is. The username.
Something like that. Cool. So I think I'm going to start with the easy one here, which is the ISE.
Yeah.
So we wanted to preempt a potential point of worry for folks as new insider builds drop. I want to state very much up front, this is not something to worry about. It is not something that has changed our stance on the ISE at all. Our stance on the ISE has been and continues to be that we're not going to touch it any more than we're going to touch Windows PowerShell, that those things are staying in Windows. We recognize that they have significant legacy or even not legacy, just regular old mainstream workloads, scenarios that need to be fulfilled there, and that having an inbox IDE for PowerShell, even if it's not having massive improvements, even if it's just in maintenance mode, it's still something that carries a ton of value for people, and we don't plan to remove it. We have no plans to remove it. However, it has been, for modularization and componentization purposes that Windows has been pushing all up, the ISE will soon be uninstallable. So it will ship as a feature on demand, which means that it will still be turned on by default, but if you go into the Apps and Features GUI, or you use the Windows capability commandlets in the DISM module, you can remove it from your system. This shouldn't be a horrible thing. It just means that, if admins don't use the thing, or if you're, on a client box where you're uninterested in having it, you can get rid of it if you want to. You can make your golden images have them without it. And again, this is just about reducing or allowing people to reduce the footprint of Windows through more modularization of their component. So we just wanted to get ahead of that one. I think I'll probably publish a brief blog on it at some point. It may or may not coincide with the insider build, but we just want to make sure that everybody understands this is not something to be alarmed about. It's not a signal that we're sending. It has nothing to do with our plans. This is us just trying to be good citizens with the Windows team and respect the fact that they're trying to make the OS more modular. A couple questions on that. Aaron says nothing to announce at this time, but it is a highly requested item. That's in regards to the GitHub SQL Server module on GitHub. Aaron says ping at Vicky Harp. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Would one need the in PowerShell 7.2 to run basic commandlets like restart computer on Linux and Mac? I'm not sure I totally understand that question.
No, so I think I understand the question. So I think he's referring to the Windows compatibility module that we have. So that only works on Windows. So I know that there's been asks and desires so that some of the other commandlets that ship in Windows that manage Windows would work on non-Windows. And I've been talking to Tyler about this recently, and maybe there's a side project we could do to have wrappers that we ship on, or we'll put in a gallery probably, so they can use the computer commands or the service commandlets on Linux and Mac, but that's not something that we're committed to for a PowerShell 7 timeframe. However, if you just want to run the Windows commandlets from Linux but targeting Windows, you can do that remotely.
Yeah, so that's sort of going to be an extra project, I think. So there's sort of like, we'll call them like, it's like guest management commandlets on Mac OS Linux. So the Windows compatibility module to ability module. Cool. All right, so the other one we want to talk about is shipping in Windows. So this has been asked a lot. You know, I think Bergmeister phrased it very well here. You know, on an unrelated note, .NET Core still believes it's the right decision to not ship as part of Windows anymore, whilst I get that it would be very nice to ship 7.x at Windows at some point. What is the team's standpoint on why a different decision plan has been made compared to .NET Core? Application developers could even abuse this by using PowerShell 7 as their GAC. What do you think? So you're bringing up a ton of good points, and they're problematic for us as well. We are still very much, and the reason I used a lot of language around no ETA, no specifics on what shipping in Windows means, no, you know, details on which SKUs or which branches or whatever, is because we're still working out some pretty significant support challenges that we're having around, you know, the .NET support lifecycle versus the Windows support lifecycle. In the meantime, we are trying to reduce the barrier to bootstrapping PowerShell 7 onto Windows. So, for instance, at some point, PowerShell 7 will be published to the Windows Store. Unfortunately, things like this don't help people on the server side. So that'll help folks on the client OSs, but server doesn't have the store. You know, so we may introduce a command line bootstrapper or a shim, right, that allows PowerShell to be obtained from outside the operating system and therefore be under a different licensing or support lifecycle. We're also investigating, or we've done more than investigate. We've shipped the .NET Global tool that allows anybody with the .NET SDK to easily pick up this thing. We've also shipped as quote unquote inbox to some of the Windows Docker containers, right? And picking up PowerShell 7 from our Docker registry, what Docker is it? It's Microsoft Container Registry, our Docker Hub, our set of Docker images.
Yes.
If you pick them up from us, you know, we've got PowerShell 7 integrated there into the base OS with no changes except having PowerShell 7. We also want to lower the bar to deploying it into Azure VMs, right? And so we're investigating some opportunities there. So, you know, the take here is that we're trying to lower the bar to putting PowerShell 7 into the images that you tend to use, where you use them, all over the place. And, you know, as we do that, we're continuing to understand when and where it might make sense to be literally in box in the same way that Windows PowerShell was in box. That being said, these challenges are pretty significant, and we want to set expectations that, you know, some of them are proving to be fairly difficult. You know, I don't want to roll back today and say that it's not happening, but I really meant it when I said there is no ETA, and you know, we may at some point, you know, I don't want to have to eat my words at any point in the future, but you know, it's a set of considerable challenges. But as people use 7 more, and as the desire for a modern PowerShell that runs across architectures and platforms, and with all these performance improvements we've made and new commandlets, and that's highly portable and compatible, more compatible with the cloud and SSH and all these things, the desire for this goes up both internally and externally, and all of that support helps us make the case around how and if we can support PowerShell 7 as an inbox Windows component. But in the meantime, you're going to see more and more of these things that lower the bar to deployment and bootstrapping, and we'd like to find out really as we go through that exercise, whether that's enough for people and whether our growth can continue to sustain with just that. One thing I do want to show on that note is very good news, which helps our case across the board, no matter what we're doing, which is our PS GitHub BI dashboard. So if we go to AKMS/PS GitHub BI, this is a public dashboard that has a lot of our usage. So if we look up here, the daily usage has been growing considerably. So if you're looking up here in the upper right corner, there's a large chunk of usage growth happening since early July, and it's continued throughout August. A majority of this growth has been on the Windows side. So our Linux growth has remained a little stagnant in the last few months. We believe that's due to the fact that a lot of the more exciting features have still not totally shipped for 7 or going to GA there. And we believe that this yellow Windows growth has been largely due to the backwards compatibility work that we did back in Server 2019. And folks are finally starting to roll out new deployments using PowerShell 7. So, it's really great to see this blue down in the lower right represents 6.2. So a lot of this growth has been on the latest version. So we're very happy there. And another thing to note, and there will be a blog published on this to coincide with the Preview 3 release, we have merged, did we merge it, Telemetry PR?
Not yet, it's clean now.
It's clean.
Getting close.
We think it'll hit Preview 3.
It may.
That's my goal.
Either in Preview 3 or in Preview 4, the telemetry RFC that we went through a few months ago has been essentially implemented, and we will have some more telemetry data to work with. Most notably, we'll know when first-party Microsoft modules are loaded. We'll know, certain things around, whether scripts were executed versus native binaries versus functions. We won't be able to tell the contents of those things. We've been extremely sensitive to privacy here, and we're going to make it more easy to discover how to turn these mechanisms off if you so choose. But you should know that leaving these things on means you are voting with your usage. And when we see, this massive amount of Windows growth, it gives us the opportunity to go out and say, hey, this was a successful thing that we did to go in and, increase backwards compatibility. And we need to do more of that. And we need to also, encourage our Linux users to grow. And so when we have these usage patterns, they very much drive our decision-making ability. And knowing, for instance, that more folks are using the Azure modules than are using the SQL Server modules, or vice versa, allows us to go to those teams and have them make investments there as well. So, just understand that I am very much a privacy advocate, but we're trying to be as transparent as we possibly can around this telemetry, publish it everywhere. There's going to be an about telemetry topic that we publish in addition to a blog post outlining what this does and how to turn it off. But, this data is what drives our development. Like we get funded and we make priorities based on data that comes in through this pipeline. So if you leave it on, you're going to get more of what you want. But I think I've said enough on that.
Yeah.
We have any more questions?
Yeah,
through the pipeline?
Well, Aaron made an observation that because we're in the long room, a lot of people tend to sit on the end, and it's hard to see who they are. So I'm not asking people to move right now, but if you want to, you can move forward. There's a lot of seats up front. But next time we should try preload in the front rather than the back. But anyways, that's a comment. Robin had a question about Active Directory modules. So I see this come up actually quite often. And maybe we haven't done a sufficient job in advertising this, but since PowerShell Core 6.1 with Windows 10, what are they? 1809. The Active Directory module that's in Windows does work with PowerShell Core. So that's been working for some time.
So this
Now
is
let's
the
listen
one
about the Azure Active Directory module, which is a different thing.
So this is the one, if we go into apps and features, you will see the, I'm not sure that I have it installed. Hopefully this comes up.
If you're on
You go
client, you'll
to
need
optional
RSET.
features. Well, that's what I'm trying to
Oh,
show.
okay.
Because it's a feature on demand.
Yes, it is a feature.
So if my machine wasn't being slow, which it's better than his MacBook Air, it should be going. And we add a feature here. This is the way that you pick up RSET now, the latest versions via Windows 10. So if we go down here to the Active Directory Domain Services, and nope, it's not that one.
Link for the management tool.
It's the Remote Access Management Tools, I think. This is the problem.
I'm not 100% sure because I don't do this often.
And this is why this is an issue, right? We need to make this well known. I take some of the responsibility here for not doing a great job of publicizing this. One of the things that I'm trying to work with Jason on in the next couple weeks is putting together a module compatibility table that outlines sort of all the modules that we have made compatible with Core, and then sort of the asterisks associated, right? Like, hey, I have to go get a feature and it's got to be 1809 plus. But in that sense, when that gets installed, we can find out if this actually works by the end of the call here. But that module has been marked as Core compatible. We've tested it. They support it in production. So, if that's what you're looking for, definitely check that out.
Joel points out that, yeah, there's a bug in .NET Core 2.1 that has since been fixed in $.NET Core 3.0 that the AD module depends on. That breaks the example he has. There's a get AD user dash properties. Anything you use dash properties will be broken, unfortunately. So with preview, I'm not sure. I didn't try this with preview 2. But presumably that fix is already there. So if you use PowerShell 7 preview 2, that should just work.
If this ever downloads, but yeah. A new one here.
So hopefully that answered the Active Directory.
It's great. There are things about using it on other OSs as well that seems to be missing. It's a great point. Yeah. So this is the other aspect of it. Like, how do I use it on non-Windows? And that is a really hard problem at this point because the APIs that module depends on very much live at lower layers of Windows, and it's not a trivial thing. So we can certainly talk to them about that, but I think it's more likely that you'll see.
We brought it up to the AD team before, and I think, again, I'll just reiterate something we've said in the past is like us as a PowerShell team bringing this feedback to those teams does not land as strongly as customers bring it directly.
And even that does not land as strongly as seeing thousands of you import it in Active Directory or in PowerShell Core inside of our telemetry.
Yeah.
And so having that sort of data allows us to go to them and say, see, look at all these people that are using it in Core. And by the way, only half our users are on Windows. So if you want to double this number, support it on Linux. And that's the kind of thing that helps us make that case a lot more quickly. Excuse me.
Yep.
All right. Any more?
Nope, nothing else.
Any more questions? Did we get everything though out of the community call questions?
I don't know. All right, Ilya, who is one of our great community maintainers on the PowerShell repo. Test coverage site. Not exactly sure. Jim, do you know what Ilya's referring to here? Test coverage site. Like, we have the old PowerShell test repo that is effectively deprecated and we're not using anymore. It's superseded by the test that exists in the PowerShell repo.
Plans about test coverage site.
It's about
There
code
are no
coverage.
plans. Source reference.
No.
site.
Source references. He's talking about like the .NET team publishes their API SDK automatically. I know that we've had some discussions with
Test coverage site.
some folks on the dog side
Like
to also.
code.io.
You must be talking about CodeCover.io. Yeah, we're gonna, it's on my list of stuff to come back to. Investigating more cross-platform tools for code coverage.
Jim's working on it. It's not a high priority right now, but it's on his back burner.
Yeah,
If it's this referring to code coverage.
if it's talking about code coverage, yeah, it's something that I am looking at, but not super actively.
Yeah.
The source reference that I'm not sure on.
I think he's talking, because I remember this came up before, like, I think .NET team did this where they have like a website that's generated off of like source code, you can do easy searches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember we talked about it a while back. We should probably just revisit that and see if it's something we can get for quote unquote free.
Right.
Nothing's free, but I think there's already tooling that does all this, so we just have to host a website somewhere. I know.
From a perspective of code coverage, there is a tool I've found called Coverlet, which seems to work cross-platform, but there's a number of issues that I can't get it to work necessarily all the time. So having assistance along the lines of getting cross-platform code coverage actually just working would be awesome. So anybody who wants to pitch in and take a look to do that that's spectacular. I'm not terribly interested in a Windows-only solution, which is one of the reasons why it's taken so long for us to do.
Correct. Well, we have more and more code that is actually not Windows code, or doesn't run on Windows, so having that coverage is going to be good.
Yeah, if you, in fact, I was able, at one point, there was a point in time where it actually worked, and our code coverage numbers go up when you actually cover all the code on all the platforms. Because you can cover code on Windows and cover different code on Mac and Linux. So anybody that wants to take a look or pitch in there specifically for code coverage that's awesome. Coverlet's very useful. It's a sort of a new set of work. It's pretty active. There's a GitHub repo. You can hunt for it, and it looks very, very promising.
Where can they go if they want to help out? An issue tracking this?
No, there's no real issue tracking it. I can create one, sure.
Okay.
So I think Ely also had a comment that, yeah, the number of PRs have grown, and right now the team is kind of focused on doing a lot of future work. So I think as that stuff gets checked in, then we'll try to revert and spend more time on looking at community PRs and get those in.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a matter of, we only have so many people and folks can't write code and review PRs all at the same time. Context switching is very hard and what's that?
I can't anyway.
Yeah, one eye on one eye on the other, right?
Get 2 keyboards, 2 monitors.
But team is focused on some feature work, as you said, and we'll pivot back to more PR reviews soon. One of the things that we do want to note, we still, and Ilya, whose question we're answering here is a great example of this. We've done some deputization of some of the community. We've given people some privileges in the repository that have allowed them to move a little quicker. One of the things that's a little harder to do there is the sort of subject matter experts, the folks that need to do deep dives on code reviews. That have a large amount of experience in these code bases, and there are a lot of people that are very experienced in the PowerShell team that have lived in these code bases for years, and it's bringing folks in to take some of that work down on our side is not a trivial thing. Similarly, on the committee, I think part of us revising the RFC process is also being a little bit more transparent around the philosophical goals of the project and the reason that we make certain decisions over other decisions, and some of those for us are sort of shorthand and implicit in that we've worked together for a long time, but we recognize that those really need to be published more transparently, so that folks who align with those goals or want to help out as part of the committee who have some experience working in the community, because we do want to bring external folks into the committee at some point, sort of have a set of guiding principles to operate on, rather than this feels good to me or it doesn't feel like part of PowerShell or whatever. Really getting a little more pointy about what that means. I think there was also one about Microsoft team expectations, how community can help. Again, I think we're starting to play catch up on RFCs. I recognize PRs are maybe a little behind, but But as we go through 7, you know, we're learning a lot of stuff about the committee process and how we can revise that. And then as we, you know, publish new stuff and formalize some of that, we're going to look to the community to come into the fold a little closer and you know, help us accomplish some of the goals that we have. I know that sounds a lot very vague and amorphous, but we've been doing lots of writing and you know, some of this stuff will finally start to trickle out over the.
Is there anything else on the issue before we go back to questions on Teams?
Yeah, there was one more around performance. So this was like jitting. I think Ilya kind of answered it here, but I just want to say, like, more generally, we do a ton of performance analysis, and we have a lot of internal threads with .NET around that performance analysis, and a lot of what we're doing is we use their previews feeds back into them, you know, making improvements on the JIT and the garbage collector and all that. So yes, we're aware, you know. I think that it has gotten better in the last couple previews. So I saw an awesome benchmark comparing 7 to 6 on Reddit. Child item working twice as fast. But yeah, we can head back to the Teams meeting.
Yeah, I think we, regarding .NET Framework 4.8 from Chris Bergmeister, I'm pretty sure Aditya, who's not in this room right now, did some, we were working with the .NET team to do some perf analysis because there were some changes they're making there. And I believe it's within acceptable parameters, is what I'll say. So, Oysen has a question about VT renderers. Like,
yeah.
I guess the only thing I'll say is just, I think you'll be excited when we talk more in the future about what our plans are for PS3 Line 3.0. That's when we'll do a lot more console and curses type stuff that I've talked about in the past. I'm definitely not in scope for 7 timeframe.
Kevin B from the PS Discord asks, when will the Exchange Online module work in 6+?
I think Danny's on the call. I don't know if he can talk though. Is he joined as an attendee?
Is he?
I don't know. He told me that he's on the call, but I don't see him as a special guy.
Yeah, well, I'll maybe Danny, if you ping me on chat or something, I'm probably all muted. Do not. Yeah, I mean, I just had this conversation with Edwin the other day too. The Exchange Online module, we're going to wrap back with that team to understand the challenges around shipping. You know, we did some work in the Exchange Online module to make it work with Core as part of PowerShell. Some folks have tried to extract that module and use it in their own environments, which would not be supported anyway, and for various technical reasons, that doesn't seem to be.
Did you just come out? Oh, look at that.
It wouldn't let me talk on my computer.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the Exchange Online module, it's currently only in CloudShell. We're working with the Exchange Online folks and pressing them to put it into the gallery so everyone can have it. It's still an ongoing discussion though, so we don't really have any ETAs there.
It's also true for Azure Active Directory, isn't it?
Yes, it is also true for Azure's Active Directory.
So I think one interesting thing to point out though is because it works in CloudShell, it means that eventually if it makes it to the public, it'll work on non-Windows as well.
Yes.
CloudShell is all built on top of Linux at this point. But Danny's just back from being gone for a few days, and you know, there's been a couple email threads, and we're going to chat about it. So you never know, but yeah, I don't want to make any like short-term promises there.
Yeah.
Cool. I see one more new. Would be happy to test and provide feedback. Please try it out at.
You tried it CloudShell today
at shell.azure.com/PowerShell, Danny.
Shell.azure.com/PowerShell. Yep.
Boom.
How come we don't have PowerShell.azure.com?
PowerShell?
Why?
Well, yeah, why?
What would it be?
No, instead of shell.azure.com.
Shell.azure.com links you to overall, and that will
I know, that's
save your defaults.
Why wouldn't PowerShell.azure.com link to Azure PowerShell's documentation? Why wouldn't it link to their?
Why would it link to documentation?
GitHub repo or
all the documentation should be on docs.microsoft.com.
It's literally PowerShell. It would be Azure PowerShell.
I'm just saying save on the shortcut.
All right, let's, okay.
Make your own AKMS.
Keep in mind, I'm gonna grab for one.
The shed can be pink, it can be blue, it can be whatever you want.
TX session for in CloudShell. PS session.
XOPS session.
Yeah.
Awesome. You guys have been great. It's 10:30.
Oh, it's
Thank
already
you
time.
very much for joining. Really appreciate having you all. Great questions. Stay tuned for more stuff. We're putting out good stuff. Anybody else just want to sign off?
I'll be streaming after this, so feel free to join.
Twitch.tv/
Tyler Leonhardt's my name. Or you can go to tylerleonhardt.live, which will redirect you there. Yeah. Yeah. Best $2 I've ever spent.
It's tylerleonhardt.live.
Yeah.
Some of those are really expensive. Like $2 is kind of a deal for one of the Vanguard
Yeah,
ones.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
some of them
yeah.
they're like it's just $40. 'Cause
Right.
It's dot,
Dot
tech.
dev is the new.
All right, guys, signing off. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next month.
I'll just all sign off.
Bye.
Plug in a process and provider in Azure PowerShell and set
What that? Yeah, please, Oshin, Twitter, at Manifest and Cloud Shell with PowerShell. Please, Twitter, and hit Danny and I up. Thank you. Bye-bye.